Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We really appreciate it. I want to just introduce myself first. Um, Welcome to Women's Caucus for Art, Greater Washington, D.C. See My Color Reception and Awards Program. My name is Deborah Walmer. My pronouns are she and her and hers. And I am been a proud member of the African American community for over 30 years. I want to say that I am the co host for this evening, along with Sandra Davis, who is also our birthday girl for today. And so, happy birthday, Sandra. Sandra is our membership chair. So, I'd like to go over some technical details for you. I will be turning the video back on for everyone, but I would like you to keep your videos off unless we call on you to speak. So Sandra, myself, and our juror will have our videos on, and everyone else will have their videos off. And also keep in mind that we are live, so please keep your microphone muted. At the bottom of your screen, you'll also see an icon with a chat bubble. This is your chat. You can open that now. If you have any questions during the program, you can ask questions right there in the chat. And it looks like this. Okay, well, with that, again, we are broadcasting live on Facebook. And we welcome all those that are watching on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. And you can ask questions also on Facebook, and we'll have someone that can relay those to us so that we will be able to answer your questions. So with that said, I'd like to introduce you to our president, Holly Stone, and she will say a few words. Holly?
Good evening. My name's Holly Stone. I'm the president of Washington, D.C. chapter of Women's Caucus for Art. I happened to have to be in Gettysburg tonight, which is the place where the Civil War ended. But I think all of us know that we are still dealing with the issues that caused that war in our world today. When the events occurred, particularly this year and last year, where the Civil War ended. But I think all of us know that we are still dealing with the issues that caused that war in our world today. When the event. Okay,
I think someone is watching the Facebook Live while they're in the WebEx meeting. Sorry about that. I just muted you for 1 second. If everyone, please make sure that you do not have Facebook open while we are in this meeting, because it will cause a lot of feedback. So I appreciate that. And again, everyone should have their microphone muted. And I see that Zudeka has joined us. Hello, Zudeka. We are very happy that you were able to come today.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I'm going to turn your video on in just a second.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we were having some technical difficulties, so
I am as well. So
yeah,
okay. Deb, are you going to turn my video on?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Just give me a minute here.
Yes, Baba. Not right now, because I'm in a meeting. Can you take your phone? I need you to go upstairs, because I'm in a meeting. Thank you. Can you go upstairs, and I'll make you some tea after my meeting?
No. Who are you meeting with?
Here, you can come and sit down.
Who are you meeting with?
Shh. We don't want to interrupt the meeting. So look, they're gonna bring us on, and we're gonna be quiet, and it will pop onto the screen.
Are we going to roll with this? Okay, let's roll. I'm going to start all over, everybody. I'm Holly Stone. I'm the president of Women's Caucus for Art of the DC area. I happen to be in Gettysburg tonight, which is the place where the Civil War ended officially. However, I think we all know that we're still grappling in our society with the issues that the war was fought about. When these horrible murders at the hands of police of African Americans occurred, and there was all kinds of justifiable protest, we looked at the headlines and said, it's important to make a statement, and we did. As people in a free society, that would be the first step, is to say, this is wrong, something needs to be done. And then we looked at ourselves and said, what can we do? And we came up with this show, and we decided to award a scholarship. This is such a big deal because we have not done it before. So I'm so glad that we've been able to do that. And that's what I have to say to start the show. It's See My Color. And I would like to introduce Deborah Walmer, who is our communications and computer technical maven, and Sandra Davis, who is our membership director and worked on this show also. We had a great team. And Madison Bowles is our exhibit director, and she has done an amazing job this year. So now it's to you, ladies.
Thanks, Holly. So I'd like to introduce Madison Bowles, who is our exhibition chair. And Madison.
Sure. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad everyone could not only be a part of this exhibition with the DC chapter of the Women's Caucus, but also be here tonight for our online reception. And thank you so much, Zudeka, for being our juror, but also having the privilege of us saying a few words, having you here and say a few words this evening. This is actually only our second official online exhibition that we've ever done. Our first one happened over the summer, and it grew out of the pandemic and the idea of wanting to have connections within the organization with our members, even though we couldn't be able to be together in person or have exhibitions in person. That first exhibition was super successful, but during that exhibition, as Holly mentioned, the murder of George Floyd occurred, and that reignited the wave of public protest and demonstration against systemic racism that is ever present in this country. And as a group that has activism as part of our mission, we could not stand by, and we put out a statement, which I want to read for you now, that was a catalyst for this show. And our statement reads, as mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends, we feel the pain. Sorry, my computer is doing weird things. As mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends, we feel the pain of people of color who have suffered from or have family victimized by brutality and injustice. We share your outrage. We believe that Black lives are equally entitled to liberty and justice, and think the stains of racism and sexism must be cleansed from out of every society for the world to live in peace. To achieve this, individuals must take responsibility and alone or with others, make solutions and take action. Part of our mission is activism. So we stand with the Black Lives Matter movement because we believe all humans are connected. To quote Rosa Parks, I believe, my computer is not doing good things tonight. To quote Rosa Parks, I apologize. I believe that there is only one race, the human race. And you can find that statement on our website. Again, thank you everyone for being a part of this exhibition. I do want to do a quick plug. If you're part of the DC chapter and you want to be a part of the exhibition team planning, we are having a meeting next week on Wednesday. And I will put the link to RSVP to that meeting in the chat. That said, I'll pass it back over to Deb. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you so much, Madison, and we really appreciate all the work you do with all of our exhibitions, and especially with this one. So I want to just say a few things. So as Madison said, the exhibition rose out of the Black Lives Matter movement and the protests against the killing of Black men and women across our nation. So while creating our statement on these issues, I had a discussion with Sandra Davis, and while we were working on our statement, we saw statements popping up across the internet. Everybody from a mom and pop shop that sells, groceries to your eyeglass person that sells, glasses to doctor's offices. Everybody was creating a statement. And talking with Sandra, she said, you know what? These words, they're just words. They really don't mean that much. Yeah, it's nice. Okay, we created the statement. But what really makes the difference, she said, was action. So we knew, okay, we better do something. We can't just make a statement. We decided from that what could we do as an arts organization? Well, we could create a scholarship for a fellow woman of artist of color, and so that's what we did. We also knew, with all this rage across the nation, that we also had rage, and if we knew we had something to say, we knew our artists in our organization also had something to say. So we decided to put the call out, and then decided to merge the call with the scholarship by taking the funds that we raised from the call and making them available to award our scholarship. So from those funds, we've raised $1,055. And from the beginning, we didn't really announce this, but we decided as an organization that we would match up to $1,000 from our own budget towards the scholarship. So now we have a scholarship that's $2,000 and $2,055, which is, for our first scholarship to be awarded, I think it's phenomenal. And we are still accepting donations to the scholarship. They are not tax deductible, but if you'd like to donate an additional amount of money, those on Facebook Live, for example, also go to our website and look at the See My Color exhibition, and you'll see the link to donate to this great cause of providing a scholarship. So that scholarship amount, that matching, is now on our annual budget. So we will be every year having a scholarship for a local artist for $1,000. So, and then hopefully raising additional money to award that scholarship. So, like I said, we wanted to have this call. We also realized that our organization was not as diverse as we would like. So one of our goals with this year was to provide an organization with much more diversity, not only in age, but also in color. And by having this call, we realized this is going to bring more people of color to our organization, because they'll see that we do care and we are an open organization, and we believe in Black Lives Matter, and we believe that by having a diverse organization, that we become a better organization. Diversity in itself helps our organization thrive. It also provides resources and development exhibition opportunities to all those women. And it makes us really happy when we can do that as well. So we're really happy for those that are on the call today and who joined, applied for the call, that are new, became members just to do that. We're really happy about that. We think it's fabulous. We're really happy to have you. I think I've talked enough, and I want to say thank you. And by the way, I forgot to say that I'm the vice president and the communications chair for WCA DC, and also on the communications committee for the national organization. So now what I would like to do is introduce again the birthday woman, Sandra Davis, who is our membership chair, and she's also the membership chair of National. So, hello, Sandra.
Hello, let me get my video started. I think we're having a little bit of bandwidth issues.
Okay. Holly, could you turn your video?
Here I am. Here we go. Hey, everybody. So, as Deb had mentioned, I am the membership chair, and I'm also on the membership committee for the national organization as well. And really, really excited that this show was able to get completed online, whole 9 yards. It's been an absolute joy to participate, not only as an artist, but in getting this this exhibit out, despite all of the other obstacles that we're experiencing, working from home. My office for work is my bedroom right now, so being able to still create and participate has been huge. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight was where we sort of got the title for the call. And as Deb and Holly had both mentioned, we sort of struggled over, what sort of statement we were going to have, how we were going to get.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get muted. It's freezing.
Okay.
It has me up.
Sorry, Sandra.
Pivot.
Sorry, Sandra. Go ahead and start again. I just unmuted you.
Okay, perfect. I was going to say, as you can see, we're all learning how to work within our own environment, and Zadeka is a mom of young kids, so I'm hoping she'll join us in a little bit. But anyway, I'll move forward. But basically, when we were deciding what to come up with for a title for this particular exhibit, as we were having the discussion about Black Lives Matter, as an African-American woman, one of the things that I found growing up was people would say, well, I was raised without seeing color, or my mama told me not to see color when I deal with people. And in 2020, that is no longer acceptable. I need you to see me. Do not look past my color. You don't look past me as a woman. You don't look past me as a wife or somebody who works for an organization. I need you to see me. And so there was a really, really interesting article back in March of 2019, an online publication called The Every Girl. And there's a quote that I'm going to read really quickly, and it says, "I don't see color, can feel like I'm choosing to ignore this part of you because it makes me more comfortable. It sounds like I don't see you, and it feels like a casual dismissal. The seemingly harmless remark negates what the speaker is often trying to say, which is, you're good with me as you are. It's counterintuitive, but imagine if someone refused to acknowledge your identity as a loving mother, a badass career woman, or even a committed partner. If this is significant, part of you feel as if a person is trying to make, trying to be nice and choosing what they're going to say and what aspects are convenient for them, but ignoring the whole woman that's in front of them. My identity as a Black woman is part of who I am. It's all of me. But as one of my friends accurately put it, refusing to see color is disregarding the distinct beauty that my Blackness brings to table. And that's where we got this call and title, See My Color. You need to see me. And I'm going to turn that over to Deb.
Wow, I'm almost in tears here, Sandra. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Um, Zudeka, if you are back, I'm going to unmute you and make sure you.
Hello. Sorry.
Hi, Zudeka. So,
we had technical difficulties, but I think I got it together.
That's great. So I want to introduce you. You had the arduous task of sorting through 130 pieces of art and narrowing them down to around 60. We ended up with 69 strong works of art. And we want to thank you so much for doing that for us and for being with us tonight to have these really powerful, fierce conversations. So I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself as well as share your exhibition statement. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sudeka Nzinga Terrell. I am really, really excited and really, really honored to be here and have been able to share this opportunity with you guys. Do you want me to read the statement?
You don't have to read it. You can just say some words about the statement. It's up to you.
Okay, so I'll let you guys read it because I think I tried to cover a lot of things, but one of the things that was really important to me with picking the work for this exhibition was one, not shying away from the subject matter and really giving the multitude of cultures and backgrounds and experiences that submitted an opportunity to really speak, sometimes harshly and sometimes beautifully, and really thinking about getting a strong mix of different mediums. This is probably one of the most exciting projects that I've juried in terms of the variety of items submitted. So being able to see quilts, being able to see some really amazing like statues and photography and videography and just the variety of ways which people interpreted the subject matter was really, really incredible and really, really an honor. And I am really glad to be a part of an event and of a show that is really taking action. And not just, I feel like it's really popular right now for organizations to put up a Black Lives Matter statement on their website to kind of signal that their business still wants to continue. And, it becomes a little bit performative. And so it's really nice to see organizations start to explore beyond just the statement, explore ways to actually create opportunities that are diverse and that reach out to diverse communities and tell diverse stories, as well as allow diverse communities to then be engaged within the organization and then give back. Especially to the arts world, which, I talked in my statement a little bit about the difficulties of being a person of color and especially a Black American person. In this art community. So, I thank you guys again. It was really difficult to scale down, like sometimes, when I'm going through selections, it's like, that's a clear one. That's a one. That's a one. That's one. That one doesn't fit. That one doesn't fit. And this one, we had a lot that were really beautiful and that were really strong. And so, I had to go back through a couple of times and really adjust the spectrum of what we were going to see. So I thank you guys again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. We definitely are just thrilled with you and with your work in general. So we are so happy. And the exhibit, honestly is my baby. And so to see it live now and how much, the work was just unbelievable, really was. So we decided to give some awards for this exhibit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start with our honorable mention. And Zudeka, I would love for you to share with everyone, why you thought that this work should be honorable mention, and then also the artist, if they're on, they could also I'll open their mics as well, and they can discuss. We only have a few minutes for each one, but we can have a little exchange. That would be really great. So, okay. So with that said, I am going to. Everybody's ready? Drum roll. Here we go. So this is our honorable mention. We can try to play it. I don't know. Let's just give it a try. Not sure how well it'll go. Yeah, it's not going to play, so that's okay. Please visit the. Go ahead and if Elisette, you're on video. Thank you, and
Yeah.
you are Mike is live too. But I would recommend. Oh, it is playing. But I would recommend. The bandwidth might be a little hard to play for everyone. I would recommend everyone going to our website wcadc.org/see-my-color and entering the exhibition, and you can play that video for yourself. So Zudika, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and just saying some words, that would be great. And congratulations, Elisette.
So I absolutely loved just the dance of this piece, and it was really, I liked that it wasn't aggressive, but it was also very aggressive at the same time. And sometimes I think that those kind of messages are the best. I was able to really look at it and feel a number of things and have a number of experiences based on, I kept calling it the dance that was happening between the two subjects. So, incredible piece. Just, I'm so honored that I got to watch this and that I got to experience it. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Elisette, would you have any remarks? Would you like to say anything about the piece itself?
It kind of stands on its own. It really has to do with uh, the kind of push-pull of societies in power, because it's always sort of like people of color contend with um, being pushed around, wanted and then unwanted, for whatever reason. You have slavery at one point, and then you have migrant workers at another point. You have all these kind of factors that we are wanted and then just discarded, and we want to unravel ourselves from that, but we are grasped, and so it's like we're locked into this forever, and it's sort of like this thing that we keep on doing, and it's our undoing, and it's sort of this poetic sad frustration, Sisyphean.
Thank you so much, Elisette, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So our third place goes to. Let me see if I can get out of here. There we go. Next slide. Freedom by Marie Allen. So Zudeka, if you could please say some words, we'd really appreciate that.
When I was thinking about the theme of identity, there were a lot of portraits and portrait work that was submitted, and I knew that I really wanted to make sure that I highlighted at least one of the portrait pieces, because I think when we think see my color, it's important to really face, like really look somebody in the face and really be forward facing. And so I loved the textures of this piece. Like even in a photo, you know, I know it's a very different experience to view art um virtually versus being able to see it. But even in the photos of the piece, just the texture, and I love the connection between the two characters and just the way they were put together. And I liked the minimalism of the facial expressions because it also made me think about the ways that we interact with one another on a day to day and some of the assumptions that we make, particularly when we're coming across brown skinned men and, you know, brown skinned women. I think that our culture makes a lot of assumptions. And so I really loved how open this piece was, but also how facing forward it was.
Thank you, Zudeika. I don't see Marie online. She did RSVP, but if she is here, speak up. I don't see her though. Anyway, congratulations, Marie, and it's a great piece. Okay, so let's move on to our second place. Two as One by Linda Joy Cadwinkle. Congratulations, Linda. And Zudeika, if you'd like to say a few words.
I loved the narrative of this and the description. So, you know, for those people who haven't been able to yet read the description, she talked about the racial differences between her and her neighbor and the connection between her and her neighbor and her kind of assessing, you know, and I feel like I'm summarizing it a little bit incorrectly, but her assessing some of her privilege and choosing to move herself into the background to let the identity and story of her Black neighbor come to the forefront. And so the movement of this piece, especially tied into that narrative, I thought was incredible.
Linda, would you like to say a few words? Oh, wait, hold on. You're muted. Let me unmute you. There you go. You're unmuted there. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, my dear friend Doreen is more than a neighbor. We raised our kids together and are still very tight. So I'll make that clarification. But yeah, it was my intention to show the my face is in the shadow in the background to show the differential between the experience of racism that she faces front and forward as a Black woman compared to my ability, you know, to be in the world in a different way. And yet I was very much wanting to show a solidarity between us and a shared vision, you know, stern vision and looking out at the racism in our culture.
Thank you so much, Linda, and congratulations.
Thanks.
First place, Mr. Jim Crow on My Shoulder by Bonnie Askowitz. Congratulations, Bonnie.
Hello? Can you hear me? I'm here. Wait, I'm here.
Thank you, Bonnie. We're going to let Zudeika say a few words, and then you can talk about your piece as well.
Oh, wow.
So this piece is funny for me because when I first saw it, it brought up some feelings that I had around. I don't know if you guys remember, but Disney used to have that movie cartoon with the old man who was dressed as a slave and he was singing with the birds on his shoulders and that. I can't remember what it's called, but they recently banned it because they talked about how racist it was, and that it was a cartoon that I grew up on. And so, you know, it was. So the very first thing I thought about was how he was singing the song about having the bird on his shoulder, and I was like, oh my God! So I connected to it that way. But then when I was reading your description and I saw that it was a quilt, I was like, what? And so, you know, I went and I left from the viewing to pull it up big. And when I saw the stitch work, I was just like, oh my God. I was absolutely blown away by just the craftsmanship and the skill and the concept. And, you know, I really love where the figure is placed and just how the whole thing really speaks to, you know, the whole composition just flows beautifully. I put all the pieces up and I asked my family, I said, pick which ones are your top ones. And so, you know, they picked their ones, and then every single one of them came back and was like, something about this one. And I said, that's a quilt, because I had them like printed really little on the wall. And I said, yo, that's a quilt. And they were just like, oh my God, what? And had me pull it up on the computer because they wanted to see the pattern. And just an absolutely incredible piece from top to bottom, from concept to execution to, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Hello?
Yes, hi. Thanks, Bonnie. Would you like to, thank you, Sudika. Bonnie, would you like to say a few words about your piece?
Well, first, thank you, Sudek. I'm shocked out of all those wonderful, powerful, extraordinary pieces of work that I saw that you would have selected my piece and I'm thrilled. I have to say that. The guy that I mean, I don't really know what to say. That's Miami, actually. In the background is supposed to be Miami, and in the behind him is Coconut Grove. And it's he actually was a friend of mine. He died recently, but he was a friend of mine that posed for me. And I had this piece in my head for many, many years. And so finally, an opportunity. Actually, this was done for another um, uh, group of art pieces, and since this was virtual, it was easy for me to put on. Sudeika, I am just so thrilled. I don't know what I could tell you about it except obviously it's Mr. Jim Crow, and it's instead of being Mr. Bluebird on my shoulder, which of course was ha ha ha, happy, zippity doo dah, this is what the real truth is. And Jim Crow, sadly, Jim Crow is still with us, and let's hope that this election is not overwhelmed by Jim Crow, because I think there's a chance that that could happen. But meanwhile, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is such an honor. I can't even tell you how thrilled I am.
Congratulations again. It is a wonderful piece. We're really glad you're here tonight to
Oh,
see
thank you.
that you
Thank
won.
you. Wow. Wow.
So before we move on to our next section, I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anyone has a question, if you would raise your hand in the chat, or you could unmute your mic real quick, and you can ask a question about any of these awardees.
I have a question. This is Camilla David. Bonnie's piece is so outstanding. It's just beautiful. I believe the image of the gentleman is also quilted. Is that correct?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
He's actually a photograph that I blew up, and it's on fabric, but the parts behind him are painted, and then the bird is what you call thread painted. So that's how he's done. But yes, he's what was the question? I'm sorry. Did I answer it properly?
You did, and it's a beautiful piece. Just beautiful.
Oh
Congratulations.
my, thank you so much. God.
Any other questions? Okay.
I'd like to ask Sudeka what kind of work she does. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you ask that one more time?
What kind of work do you do?
Oh, well, I am a mixed media artist, so I do acrylic portraits of mostly African American women, and I use paper collage, fabric. They're kind of like paper. I'm not exactly a quilter. Like I'm more of like a mixed media fiber artist.
Uh-huh.
So I that's changed very recently. I used to do acrylic paintings and separately collage, and in the last year or so, everything has started to merge into one. So
Good for you. Sounds exciting. This was a fantastic show. I was really thrilled to be in it. I'm from Michigan, so I liked the idea of being able to show my work with people from Washington, D.C.
We're so happy to have you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, is there any place upcoming we can see the winners' pieces in person? I'm sorry, Juliet. Unfortunately, we are not able to have an in-person show. I After I saw the work come in, I was astounded, and I was really wishing that we had a space to display everything, but unfortunately, we do not. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to our next section. So we are having a dialogue with Zudeka, and anyone else that'd like to participate is more than welcome. The first things we'd like to talk about with Zudeka are the categories. If you saw the exhibit online, she grouped some of the paintings in three different categories: people, American awakening, and how we got here. And we have those displayed in sections throughout the 3D exhibit as well. So I'd like to just ask Sadeka, okay, well then, if you could just talk a little bit about these categories, and if they're, why you put certain pieces in specific categories. Is there anything that jumps out to you? That would be great if you could talk about those things.
yes, so typically when I'm curating a show, I have what I call the serial killer, and I print out all of the pieces and little thumbnails, and I just tape them up on the wall and kind of stare at them and spend some time with them to see if there's a flow that starts to come through. And what was interesting with this show was because with the theme being See My Color, there were a couple of pieces that were these collective pieces that had these elements of different identities and different colors alongside these pieces that were really strong portraiture. And some of the portraiture would be different colors, but it would be set portraits. And so when I was originally thinking about See My Color, one of my first thoughts was, when I want somebody to walk in, I want them to have to see people and see their colors and really confront, like, this experience is going to be rooted in addressing and acknowledging the identities and actually seeing the people's color. And so, as we moved through, we had a couple of pieces, we had a series of pieces that really directly addressed a lot of the social unrest that has been going on. And I know that for me, when I'm viewing an exhibit and there's pieces that might be a little bit traumatizing or that might be a little bit rough, I need them kind of padded. I need to feel them and experience them and then go to another place. And so, I felt like, okay, we've seen the people that we're talking about. And now let's see the situations that these people are facing and that they're dealing with, and let's see them. There were especially a few pieces that were very harsh, and so let's view these harsh realities and really feel like, okay, this is what the people are going through and this is what they're experiencing. And then I felt like there was a number of submissions that addressed things that were going on historically and things that had gone on long term. We had some things that addressed kind of some women's rights type of issues. We had some imagery around Harriet Tubman. We had imagery around different protests and different styles of civil disobedience. And so really thinking about, there's a history that led us to even have to have a conversation about what it means to see my color. And so, that's kind of the journey that I was thinking about with the different subjects and taking care of, what each what the experience was that I wanted a person to be able to walk through and feel.
Excellent. So, looking at some questions, Sadeka, what would you consider the biggest challenge for this call?
I definitely think that there was some art that was really beautiful, but that didn't fit the call. And there was some art that I think people really wanted to have seen and really wanted to have fit in the call, and it just didn't. And so as the narrative really started to emerge, having to pull back on some pieces that were absolutely beautiful pieces but just didn't really forward what we were talking about. And I think as well that sometimes as artists, when we're submitting work, and we're writing our artist statements and we're writing our artist descriptions, that like you can't always make something fit. And so being like really mindful, and especially when we're talking about like occupying spaces for people of color and identities for people of color, you have to be really mindful about like how you try to enter into that space, because this was a subject matter that was open to all backgrounds and all nationalities. And I think that a variety of backgrounds and nationalities did a good job of really acknowledging things. But I definitely felt a couple of times I was like, whoa, like this doesn't have anything to do with that. And and that kind of speaks to some of the like cultural oppression that we are enduring in art, where it's like, if this wasn't your place to occupy, it's okay not to. It's okay to just enjoy and to hear the narrative and to see the people. Like that was probably my biggest challenge.
All right. So I'm going to ask another question unless somebody else wants to jump in before me. Does anybody else have something that they would like to address?
Yeah, anyone that's on the in the WebEx, if you have any questions regarding this topic that Zudeka and Sandra are speaking of, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question.
Okay, we're going to keep it moving. So, Sadeka, I want to move right into, you sort of segued very easily into speaking about artist statements. So, as you were going through the work, as well as making sure that the statements that were being made within the work, were there any statements that were clear and concise and their work just automatically just fit with what the theme was? Or were things a little murky? What did you find?
I would say that 75% of the pieces were like spot on, where and even when they approach, because I think that one thing that's important, as somebody who's going through an open collection of art, is making sure that different perspectives are valued. And so I wanted to make sure, like, I don't want to just pick mad black pieces. I don't want to just pick pieces of oppression. I don't want to just pick, and so, there was a lot of really good variety to choose from, and a lot of like of really good messaging and really strong messaging. I was actually really pleased because, like, this is the third show that I've juried and curated that had kind of a similar theme in terms of addressing social unrest and racial issues. And I'll tell you, like the last one I did, especially, like a couple people, I was downright offended because they, you know, it was images that would come in, and then it was like things that were put into the descriptions that were a little bit celebratory of Black death, in terms of like, don't submit a piece that doesn't have anything to do with the theme, and then, you know, post lines from a magazine article about a police killing into the picture, and it's a picture of like a tree, you know, like. And so there's always a couple of those. I was really pleasantly surprised by how few of those were in this call, how few. You know, there was a couple times I had to be like, whoa. But for the most part, I was really pleased with just the thought and the care that was taken in what people chose to select, and why people chose to put those pieces in. And you know, and I try to be fair too, that I don't necessarily feel like every piece in a show, even when a show has a theme, sometimes you need some pieces that move things along, that, you know, don't always necessarily have a description that is like about what's happening in 2020. And that's part of why I picked some of the pieces that address the history, because, you know, I know that a lot of the focus is what's going on right now and some of the things we're experiencing right now. But those pieces that really dig into the history are equally important, because we need to know, like, how did we get here, you know?
So if you, I know we highlighted the 4 pieces that were winners. Is there any of the pieces that you can kind of think about? I know you've been looking at a lot of art lately, so I don't know if you remember anything specifically, but is there maybe 1 or 2 that maybe Deb can pull up that we can kind of highlight? You remember anything?
There are 2 that really, that actually I went back and forth in terms of like I wanted them to get some sort of recognition. And those 2 pieces are the chair for Kaepernick, was one that me and the family debated for a long time together, trying to, like, you know, okay, well, what about this, and like, what's the merit of like which one. I thought it was a really, really impressive concept, and I liked how it was done and how it was put together. I liked the messaging of it. I felt like it was messaging that didn't even just apply to Kaepernick himself, but to anybody who is protesting. Is a lot of work, and needing a place to take a seat for a second is a real thing. So I love that one. And then there was one, I can't remember what her name is, but she had a piece about Elijah McClain's murder that had me in tears, like on site. And you know what was funny about it is that she had sent me an email, because she had mistyped her member ID number or something like that, and wanted to make sure that her pieces were being considered, or if they weren't. And she had mentioned, you know, I told her, you know, of course I'll check, like, but she had mentioned that she had fallen and broken her hip and had surgery, and so she had painted that piece as she was healing from the surgery. And just like, and so, you know, as I was going through, I wasn't really paying attention to anybody's names. Like, I wanted to just like see the art and experience the art, because I know sometimes I know people and whatnot, so I just wanted to like make sure I'm looking at everybody's work. And I just mean on site, like, I saw her piece just really, really took it out of me. And like, just, it was absolutely, it was beautiful. It was one of those pieces I hated to have to look at, because it was traumatic, it was painful, but it was very necessary. And it was very necessary to have been done. And I felt that the way she did it gave dignity. It didn't feel like it pandered in Black murder. It gave him some dignity. So those are the 2 that I would say probably were like, that I couldn't pick, that were strong on the list.
Excellent. Deb's going to try to pull them up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, that's definitely a strong piece.
is absolutely just beautiful. And you know what he wrote about it just really was moving.
And what was the other piece? What was the title?
Oh man, it was something about Elijah McClain. Her name was Sue, I want to say, or Merkel Sim.
Hi, it's Avril Menkes.
Yes,
Oh,
The
April.
April. Yes.
Thank you for
Here
speaking
it
up.
is. I
Yes,
found
that
it.
one right there.
Here it is.
okay.
That one.
So April, do you want to talk a little bit about this and share with us your thoughts in putting this piece together?
Oh, sorry. It's going away.
April, can you unmute yourself and talk a little bit about this piece? There you
Okay.
go.
I'm actually a landscape painter, but with what's been going on and the terrible injustices of Black men being murdered by the police, I came across the story of Elijah McClain, who at 23 years old left one evening to go to the corner store. And a little bit about him, he's an introvert. He was an introvert. He was, if it matters, a vegetarian, a loving son and brother. He was a massage therapist and just a normal kid, 23 years old. And he went to the corner store and he also was anemic, so he was a ski mask on because he was cold, and he bought his soda for his brother and left. On the way home, he was stopped by the police because they thought he looked like a person of suspicion. It's a young Black man in a ski mask, and I felt I was so upset. I'm not Black, but I'm a mother. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you let your son goes out innocently. He was unarmed. The police stopped him and he said, no, no, no. I'm quoting from what I read. No, no, I'm not like that. No, I wouldn't hurt a fly. And they struggled him to the ground. They put him in the infamous chokehold and injected him with a sedative that was much too strong for his 143-pound body. And he never woke up. Now, I researched Chagall's Elijah because Chagall, the famous artist Chagall, Marc Chagall, did a series about Elijah. And I came across the quote that is in the painting. And I looked up mantle, thinking, what is a mantle? Well, it's a head covering or a covering. And I thought, oh my goodness, this could be the 2020 mantle. It was such a analogy to the ski mask. By the way, he was a violinist as well, which is why I have the angels playing the violin. That's basically it. I cried with every brushstroke. I just felt I could no longer paint landscapes. That I had to express myself. I needed to do this. I just needed to. That's my story.
That is amazing. And Zadeka, I can imagine how you must have felt, especially after reading her statement. And as you had mentioned before, the fact that I feel like we all put our own stories within the pieces that we submitted. I'm a mother of two sons as well. My youngest son is 24. So April, I totally understand and feel exactly where you're coming from. When he goes out, go ahead.
I want to interject too and share. I'm from Aurora, and so like I the police situation there. This piece just yes, and thank you, and I appreciate you telling this story and sharing
I
it because
also,
I'm walking
I'm
down
sorry.
that street.
I'm
And
sorry. I also want to say that I, as a white person and with a son, wouldn't this, I don't think would happen to me and my white son because I really feel, and we hear Brianna and rightfully so, but this, I think he was black and that's the reason that he looked suspicious. And it pains me so. I'm so upset over this. This is proof. See, this wouldn't happen to my white son going out. I mean, maybe, but I think that, like, why is he? I, I, I have nothing more to say. I explained
Yeah.
how I feel. Okay.
Yeah, I have actually have a black son and a black daughter myself, and they're biracial, but of course, because they look black, they are black, right? And I also worry about the same thing with every news story, and even before the news stories, I knew these things could happen, you know. Um, and I think a lot of white Americans, or just white people in general, a lot of people just don't have the understanding of a mother or a father of a child that is of color. You know how we feel when our kids are out playing. Even they're riding in a car, they're driving a car, they're at school, they're wherever. We worry like all the time, and um, I'm sort of happy at least now that people are being educated about this, and that I'm hopeful that maybe there'll be some change.
Thanks for sharing, Deb. The audience members, does anybody else have something that they would like to share? We know this was difficult for a lot of us to create the work, and a lot of us had some very, very strong responses to, which apparently Zadeka also saw in selecting the work. And as a feminist art organization, do you feel, Zadeka, that we should always be sort of addressing these types of topics and themes? Do you feel that we weren't too soft on the imagery that we submitted? You want to talk a little bit about that?
I do think that you guys did a really good job, and especially in this era, because things have changed so quickly, and language is changing so quickly, and so all of these different identities are really starting to seek their space for definition, like black versus people of color, or like the different fractions of black, and how people are able to get their voices out there, not just artistically, but their stories told politically, and the ways in which art kind of allows us to come together. I think that only via art would we have been able to have such a racially charged conversation, because this has been like an intensely racially charged conversation. But I don't feel drained. It's not one of those times where I'm like, oh my God, like here we go. I think that art lends an opportunity to really describe an experience and really describe circumstances that may or may not be really hyper specific, in a way that allows another person to take it in, and take it in at their own pace, and feel their own feelings about it, and take their own lessons from it, while also getting kind of what the artist wanted you to get. And I think that especially with a call this wide, it's hard to have a theme like this and not alienate people from wanting to submit, like, because as much as we want to give opportunities for black people, for black women, for other women of color to be able to submit and to be able to join organizations, we also don't want to silence other people who might have really good and really genuine things to say about how they feel about what's going on. And so one of the things I was really pleased about, and that I really tried to focus on, was just really making sure that everybody was having a chance to speak, and that nobody would walk through, because like I definitely have my own interests in terms of how I want to support my community, particularly in the arts, but I didn't want anybody to read through it and be like, oh, so this was obviously curated or obviously juried by somebody Black and they wanted to tell only this story. I'm not the only, I hate the term person of color, but I'm not the only person of color in existence. And I'm not the only story. I'm not the only person impacted. And, so I really think that the work that was submitted did a good job of telling a variety of experiences from, people of color and people who are not of color, who are considering and contemplating their roles or what they've seen, about these type of experiences.
Excellent. So we still have quite a few people on. Does anybody else want to share any thoughts about their own particular pieces that were included? Oh, come on, somebody. I can pick somebody if you like.
Well, I can talk about my piece. This is Margaret.
Go, Margaret.
Margaret, you can put your video on if you want.
Okay. Oop. So I was, the piece that I did, which was called Strip It Off, I did with a group. We worked together in 2019, and we listened to a whole series of podcasts about seeing white. And then, so we would get together each week and get two podcasts, and then what we were hearing. So the podcasts were about really the history of systemic racism and how it was built into the country from the very start. And so many people wanted to be involved. We had to have two different groups, and one was in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and one was in Detroit. And it, I've learned a lot of these things in school, but a lot of it I hadn't learned. And it took us, a month or so, more than a month to listen to all of the podcasts, and it became so depressing, so heavy, so terrible. I mean, it was just, and I'm so glad we were in a group, because it wasn't until we started doing artwork about it, because we'd all agreed that whatever people made would go into a show. It wasn't until we started doing artwork about it that we began to pull ourselves out of it and kind of see that, oh, now it's our turn. It's our turn. We can change this. We can go someplace. We can make it better. So anyway, I felt like I wanted to do something that had to do with, my white skin, and how by the end of the program, the thing I realized was that, I never thought of myself as a white supremacist. That was like the opposite of anything I ever wanted to be. But what this experience made me realize was that I benefited all my life. And I just did not take that into account. And the fact is, when you have all these benefits, they're so nice, you don't think about them, and you just think, oh, I woke up this way, and it was such a shocking realization for me that I something really graphic. Like, I just wanted to take off this whiteness, this white skin, and really just look at it. So this is the first time I'd done body casting. So it took a long time to do it. Oh my God, it was so frustrating. But then I also realized I could do some casts of my hands holding up the pieces of the body casting. And I wanted to put the words onto the white skin that said what I'd learned, because I thought because it's way too easy for white people to just think, well, I didn't do slavery. I didn't, I don't go around saying things to Black people or keeping their children out of schools or this, that, or the other. But I didn't have to. And that's how strong the denial was. So so actually we've put this show on several different times. The woman that organized it is very active, and so I think it's really amazing. So I was thrilled that you accepted this piece. And this is an amazing conversation. This is more of the conversation. And I loved looking at all the pieces because, yes, we don't have a chance to just look at the color of Black people and how beautiful it is, how different the color is, how, you know, um, it's wonderful to see all of the pieces in this show. So I am just really appreciative of it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much, Martha,
Washington.
for sharing. That's amazing. And I know, seeing your work in the past, you put yourself into your work quite often. So I was really excited to see this piece as well. So thank you.
Thank
We've
you,
got
Sandy.
Marie. We've got Marie here, and Marie's going to talk a little bit about her piece. And congratulations, Marie.
Thank you. I don't know if you guys can see, this is my first time using this app, so not quite sure if I'm using it right.
Yeah, your video's not on, but that's okay. We can
Okay.
hear you fine.
Give me a second. Oh, duh. Hold on. It says it's sending.
Very well. We see you now. And
Okay,
welcome,
cool.
Marie, and congratulations.
Thank you. I had no idea I won third place. I'm excited. So I'm like, I came in smiling anyway, but now I'm just like,
That's great. That's great. So if you want to just if you want to speak about your piece a little bit.
yeah. So I have a love for fashion, and that started when I was young. And I always loved accessories. So I have a nickel allergy, and my mom, being a creative person, she actually paints. She told me, just because something isn't out there doesn't mean you can't make it. So just going from something like beads to a wall sculpture, it's like, yeah, I came a long way. So it's like you can do anything you want, but the inspiration for this piece has to do with fashion, because through accessories we express ourselves. So I know there's a lot of Black art out there, but sometimes it's just like sometimes you need that smile. So I want to put a smile on people's face and deliver a message all at once. So that just came together for me, and I drew it in like a day, made it in like a week. It was just like when it's on your heart, it just flows, and that's how that piece really came about.
That's great. I love when that happens, when the work just flows out of you. You know that it's meant to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, we talk about that. So we've got other artists that are on tonight. Does anybody else want to share? Like I said, I'll pick somebody.
I can share.
Who's talking?
This is Raven Featherstone.
Hi, Raven.
Hi,
Perfect.
Raven.
Go ahead.
If you could put your video on, that would be great. And I will try to pull your piece up.
Let's see if it's coming out. Oh, I don't know what's wrong.
That's okay. No worries. You can just go ahead and talk. Fine. At the bottom of the screen, there should be a start video. It's okay. You don't no need to worry about it. We can just discuss your piece. You don't need to have your video on.
So Raven, while Deb is pulling up your work, you want to talk a little bit about your inspiration for the piece? Did we lose her?
I don't know. She's not muted.
Raven, are you there?
Maybe she's having bandwidth issues.
That's possible. Are you able to bring her piece up?
I'm looking for it. Okay, here, I found it.
Let's give her a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Dog here. So, yes. So I'm Raven Featherstone. My piece was called It Does Matter. It was a collage I did. So using like magazine clippings and just other pictures I found. So also it shows like you'll see in this collage, and then there was also I printed on canvas. So I have like a
Honey, can you come here for a minute,
So-
please?
So yeah, so you'll see I have like important leaders that I show, like Martin Luther King. Also, like you'll see Kennedy in the middle, John F. Kennedy. So people who like, you know, try to help to change, you know, things in the world and try to make it better towards the race. And then how you just see the people with the glasses on. It's just like kind of like I wanted to show like them looking at what's going on and looking at and then how race matters, freedom, and how there's a thin line between love and hate. So it just trying to show basically, you know, how things were and then how things are still kind of what we're going through now, but how certain leaders were, you know, trying to make things as peaceful and best so we can all, you know, get along in freedom. So that's what I was showing, and then how, and then all these public figures. So yeah, so that was basically what I was trying to, you know, come across with the mixed media and stuff. So
Excellent. So I'm going to ask a question, and it may be a hard question. It may not be a hard question. And any of the artists who are on can jump in and answer. So obviously, some of us who are people of color, we have our own experiences, right? We had one of our other winners to talk about their piece, although they are white or Caucasian or non women of color, they had their own sort of experience around See My Color. So is there anybody else who would like to share their thoughts around some of their experiences, what has sort of put them and those stories into their work? Does anybody want to share anything about that?
Just unmute your mic and you can start your video if you're interested in speaking.
Oh, come on, let's be brave. Let's share.
All right, this is Camilla David,
Go ahead, Camilla.
and I have two pieces, very fortunately, and I'm very appreciative of being able to have those pieces in. But to answer your question, my background is Arab American, and I have not experienced what Black Americans or Black people in this country have experienced, but there has been discrimination against other people, including the Arabs. And when we were young, we would have fights with people in the neighborhood because we were Arabs. And I've even been told to go back to my own country, that kind of thing. So you asked the question if I've experienced any of that. Yes, I have, but it's certainly, I'm an American and I certainly feel the empathy and outrage of what's happened and is happening to Blacks in this country. Mostly men, but some women, and it's unconscionable. And my pieces came from feeling that, especially feeling that there was this oppression, especially from those people who are supposed to be in charge of us, the police, and that we have to change things to make a difference and make the world and this country better, and more comfortable for people to live in. So that's all I have to say, and I really appreciate being in the show, and also the theme of this show, which is so timely and so important.
Thank you, Camilla, for sharing. I think, Deb, are you able to bring up her pieces? There we go. Thank you.
Yep.
Do you want to add anything, Camilla? Do you want to talk a little bit about the work?
Well, I can talk a little bit about them. This came from being, stuck at home in the pandemic and having a lot of rageful feelings about what was going on with George Floyd and everything, that the reactions against people protesting. And I usually don't use such bright colors, but I went with these sort of cacophonous bright colors. And then towards the end, I just slashed the black across it because it felt like it was jail and being in jail. And it just felt so dark at times that that's what came out for me, thinking about what was going on. And you can see sort of in the background, there are people who are, being pushed back by different colors and by different aspects in the painting.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about my piece, Deb, the looking over my shoulder.
Okay.
So one of the things that we're all experiencing, of course, if you worked for corporate America and you work in an office, I've been home in my bedroom office since March 14th. And there's no thoughts or even considerations for going back to the office probably before the first of the year. And so as all of this conversation was starting to happen, my organization reached out to their associates of color to see how everybody was feeling. How are you all doing? How are you feeling about everything? And I had an opportunity to share this piece with my supervisor. And again, I had mentioned I'm a mom of two boys, and I would never consider my two boys menacing or scary or evil looking or what have. I think they're very sweet and genuine. And so this piece, I started using these very pastel-y type of colors. And so when I shared it with my supervisor, she wanted to know, could she share it with her supervisor? And it sort of all the way went up to the top that I ended up getting a nice employee page to talk about how an associate was dealing with the social unrest. So I was tickled pink that I was able to get this piece included in the show, because it sort of transferred across not just my own little world, but it went through corporate America for a large organization that I work for, and was really honored and pleased that they felt comfortable enough to let me make a statement about what I was going to go through. So that was how this piece came about.
One of my favorites, Sandra. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Very thought-provoking.
We've got still a little bit of time, so there's got to be somebody else who wants to talk about their work. We always want to talk about our work.
I'd like to. Eileen Shalom.
Okay, Eileen, let me pull it up.
Thanks, Eileen. Go ahead and you can start sharing.
The one
Turn your
that's
video on.
the one that's about George Floyd. It says it's to be free.
Okay, I got it. I'm going to share it in a second. Go ahead and speak.
Thank you. Okay. This is mixed media, painting and photographs and American flag. Okay, so being a white, suburban, Jewish woman with a daughter, an adult daughter, who has been with a black man for maybe 14 years now. So I would like them to be married, but they say that they're just going to live this way, and that's what makes them happy. But when George Floyd was murdered, I started feeling, first of all, his death stirred up an indescribable anger and disgust. But it also stirred up a renewed fear for my son-in-law. And, being a white woman, you're just like, you're not, this whole situation doesn't impact you. And you don't think about it as much as if you were a black person. But I think about it through the eyes of Josh. And he's told me stories, many stories about things that he's had to experience. And I started to think more about being a mother of a black man and how it would be if I feel like I'm his mother, I'm his mother-in-law. In any case, there is this symbolism in this is not only the police on one side and the marchers on the other, but the song Blackbird by the Beatles, which was written about the racial strife in the American South in the 60s. And it was a song dedicated to a black woman. And I think it was Paul McCartney that wrote this song. He said, "Let me encourage you," this is a quote by him, "let me encourage you," speaking to this black American woman, "to keep trying, to keep your faith and have hope." And I think that between the 60s and the 2020s, things just haven't changed enough, haven't changed too much. And, it's the whole thing was very upsetting to me. It brought to life that just the visuals of watching that knee on George Floyd's neck was so in your face. And that the realization of police brutality was right there in every American's face. So I wrote the words to the song Blackbird. They surround the piece and go up into the flag. And yeah, there's the blackbird sitting on Floyd, and Floyd is sitting on a very handsome, beautiful black man. That's it. That's it. It's mixed media. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think we have Juliet who wants to go next, which this is one of my favorites. This piece says so much. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this.
Hi there. Thank you so much for the opportunity. First of all, this was a very special exhibition, and it couldn't have come at a better time. So this piece has its origins a few years ago when I was watching a video that Tina friend of mine from Phoenix had shared, and it was a press conference between some Indigenous peoples in Canada discussing what their current, I can't remember specifically what their current issue was that they were discussing at that time, but it was about the continued appropriation of their lands and their resources. And a white reporter raised her hand to ask a question of these tribal leaders, and she asked them if they were not grateful for the efforts that had been made thus far to protect their resources. And rightfully, in my opinion, the tribal leaders did not take that very well. And the matriarch said to the reporter, "Sit down, white lady. Sit down. You are standing in our land asking if we are not grateful for what has been done so far to protect our land." And that phrase, "sit down, white lady," really stuck with me as a white lady watching this. So it was been in the back of my mind for a long time. And then earlier this summer, I was watching my husband, who is a man of color, reading to my 2 biracial children Harold and the Purple Crayon. And when I was watching him read this bedtime story to them, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with that entire concept of basically passing the mic with what I had been thinking of it for a long time. And so when I saw this as a children's story of this adorable white boy coloring his world, making it what he wanted, I knew right then that that was the piece that I was going to make, because that is what we have done. And it is time to pass on that ability to construct the world as we see it, and reframe it so that it's now, it's well past our turn to create that world. So I wanted to then juxtapose it with another beloved children's story, of course, being The Snowy Day. So I thought, well, a better way to marry those two. They're kind of the same era in children's literature. And The Snowy Day being one of I believe it is the first children's picture book featuring an African American boy. So bringing that in, and then specifically in the background, because this is on canvas, and so the 2 children are painted acrylic on wood. And on the canvas behind them is Harold's picture of the policeman. So, we have been saying what the police force is supposed to be through all of the centuries. And of course, we know about the origins of the police force and how that all came to be. So now it is time for the communities of color to have full input, full say, on what they want their world to be, and specifically speaking to law enforcement in, of course, these issues. So that's what my piece is about.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really wanted to hear more about where that was coming from, and I'm sure everybody else did too. That was amazing.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
It's about 10 minutes to 8. So if there's anybody else who wants to share about their work, we still have a little bit of time.
Would it be okay if I share some of mine?
Sure.
First of all, I'm still flabbergasted that I have 3 pieces in this show. I just cannot believe that, Sudika, that you picked all 3 of my pieces. I'm still really honored, and yeah. So why is the picture not coming up though? Uh-oh, not responding. Let me stop it for a second. See if I can.
I would like to share if we have enough time. I don't know.
Is that Mara?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. So I wanted to share this piece because there's some stuff about this piece that you probably don't see, and you may not even see if you were standing in front of the piece. So I have, like I said in the beginning of the presentation, I've been a part of the African American community for about 30 plus years. When I was in college, I danced in a West African dance company, went to Africa, came back. I just have a love for Africa and the rich culture that it has. And so my pieces really revolve around the positivity of what the African American and the African cultures have to share with us. So this piece, I was really filled with anger at first, with my, having a black son. But anyone who knows me knows that I'm not an angry person. I'm usually, pretty happy, pretty positive. I like to see all the positive things that are happening around us. So this piece started off, it's on canvas, and it started off painted black. And in the background, I had a texture surface that I carved the words Black Lives Matter. And if you look really close, you can see those words in there. So the images that I painted were of a couple, but it was a little bit dark, and it just wasn't working for me. Wasn't feeling right. So I decided to go with who I am and create something that was more positive. So it is a mixed media with oil paint and fabric. And it represents African Americans who most likely all stem from royalty. And so, like my own children, their grandmother is a princess. And so a lot of African Americans, unfortunately, are not able to trace their roots. But if they were, they would probably trace back to a king in a kingdom in some country in Africa, or a queen, or a princess, or a prince. And so this piece is about, believing we should know as Caucasians and other people that aren't African American that they hold this in their blood. And if you look at evolution, what we know now is that the first person that they can trace was from Africa. So we all are really a part of this culture, in a way. But anyway, I have a great love for the culture, and so this is my piece.
Thanks, Deb. I think Mara wants a chance to share some thoughts about her work if you're able to bring that up. We've probably got about 5 minutes or so left with the program. And I really thank everybody for coming on today.
Let me try to find it.
Mara, if you want to go ahead and start talking while Deb brings it up.
Well, thank you. I am really feel very, very humble in such wonderful pieces of art, and with my sculptures that I presented. They're fantastic. The pieces that you presented, they are great. And my sculptures, they have almost no color. They could be different colors. And they are, some of them, they are clay and bronze. But my work presents what I have been emphasizing is that all the color that we have and the characteristics of all of us, it is just the very minor percentage of our DNA. Is only the 0.01% what they counts or what they calls our height, our color, and we are the whole humanity. We have 99.9% equal. And I understand that when I have lived in this country, let me see, 40 years. But I grew up in Mexico, and I didn't experience before. I just have 76 years of age. So I have more years lived here in the United States than in Mexico. But my first years of life, I never experienced that such a discrimination that there is in this country. So I really have acquired this anger for the fight between whites and blacks. But I always thought that and in Mexico there's a different kind of discrimination. There's discrimination against women that we do have in almost the whole world, and it also came very much from the Europeans because the Aztecs and Mayans, they have several queens, and the towns were very prosperous under their governments. And after the Europeans came to this continent, we didn't have neither in US, neither in Mexico, no one president. So up to now, we are that way. So, but anyway, there's different discriminations. But the black and white, there is not such acute in Mexico, or at least in the environment when I grew up. But since I am painting and sculpting, has taken my attention the DNA. The DNA is a marvelous, it's a fascinating world. And the world is that we are 99.9% equal, men, women, and every color. So that's what makes my blood boil when it's such an anger, when I see that, that painting of the knee on George's neck, it is to cry. I mean, it is to cry. That brings tears to my eyes to see that kind of hate to each other. It is amazing. And so that's what I want to say, that I have this sculpture, and I have other clay sculptures that I saw that talk about not the inequality, but more of the equality of the what we share. We share much more than we are different. We are very much the same, and that's where I always want to have that message. That's all I want to say. Thank you. I don't want
Thank you so much, Mara. No, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
We are at the top of the hour. It's 8:00, and this has been an amazing experience, and I'm so happy to have been part of this. I know Deb was glad to see her baby come to fruition as well, and knowing that we can do these things virtually, there's literally no reason why we can't all stay connected in some form or fashion. I feel like there's so much more work to be done for us to create and for us to share with one another. And so huge thank you to everybody who has participated. Thank you very much, Zadeka, for jurying. And this has been a phenomenal experience. So thank you very much. Deb, you have a couple words?
Yes, I just wanted to pull up, I accidentally just closed it, but I have some resources to share with everyone. And so I just want to pull that up real quickly, and I'll leave it up on the page. And then also, since we're recording, it will be, listed in the recording. But, I'm really overwhelmed with this again. Like I said, I feel like what I wanted to set out to accomplish, all of us really, we did. We were able to share our stories, make statements, experience. People that are looking at the exhibit are experiencing everything that we've set out to do, really. So with that, I just want to point out some of our resources here. We have our show link. So those might be watching on Facebook Live. We have our link to our show, the Black Lives Matter official website, where there's other resources. How to Be an Anti-Racist is a wonderful book that I highly recommend if you're looking for something like that. The Mid-Atlantic Racial Justice Listserv has a lot of resources. The company I work for is an international development company. So we're a democratic leaning company as it is, but our company is setting aside $1 million for racial social justice. And I am part of that core team for my company. So we're dealing with a lot of this stuff, and we're actually going through training right now. So it's very interesting work that we'll be doing, and helping to teach the rest of our company how to be anti-racist, really. And then Zudeka Zinga Terrell's website, if you're interested in her work, learning more about her, I recommend checking her out. She's very talented. She juggles her kids and her life and her husband, and does it really, really well. Even though I know she probably doesn't think she always accomplishes that, because I know as mothers, and it's hard. It's very hard. So anyway, that's it. And if anyone else has any other remarks, but I think Holly, if you're still on, if you could just give us out.
I'm here.
Okay,
I think it's really important for people to have their say. And I think it's such a wonderful step that we took to have this show. I hope that it reverberates through the cyber world. It is so important that each of us takes, even if it's only a little thing, or to join with other people, but to look at yourself and say, what is it that I can do to make things better? That is such an important concept. And I think Women's Caucus for Art DC did that today. Thank you to the people, Deb, Madison, and Sandra, who organized this, and to Sudeka, sorry, I'm not used to your name, for judging and for putting together a fantastic show. I would ask our members to please look inward and think of some way that you can volunteer to be on a committee so that we can continue to do more of this kind of thing. We need your help. And with that, I'd like to say good night.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll make this recording available on YouTube and our website. And it's the Facebook Live recording will also be available. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your time this evening. And thanks again to Zudeka, and happy birthday, Sandra Davis. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.